Hi. Okay. It's not according to my list, but I'm doing that one anyway now. Also, my sinuses are killing me. It's like I'm really cleansing out stuff. So, yeah, I actually wanted to talk about suffering. But in a sense, I think cleansing is more appropriate as a topic because suffering and cleansing and purification somehow go together. It's like one cycle of, shit must leave. So let's call this one, what is cleansing? All right. As you might have realized by now, we are talking here about spirituality. And I've told you already what I believe that is. And just something I want to say because I just had it in my mind. Sometimes I really pick on people. What I really pick on is their masks. Yeah. What I really pick on is these kind of fake identities people cover themselves with to hide all their shit. So you can run around and pretend like you're spiritual, and then you think you help people and you heal people. This is basically what that video No More Healers in the Basic Knowledge playlist is about. That you can do that. You can pretend that you're really holy, even if you have a day where you feel really terrible, and you can still force yourself to smile and walk around with that namaste posture and bow to people and act like you're better than them in some ways because you pretend like you stand above your emotions. But nobody really stands above emotion because emotion is a part of you. So when we talk about cleansing, there's a lot of factors that play into that. I've mentioned that already. Ramdas has done a series on that, the yogas or yogis of the Bhagavad Gita. To me, that was essential knowledge to understand what the Bhagavad Gita says about these things, because I'm not a real reader. I rather listen to people's experiences, and then I can relate to that. And that for me is a much better way. So in terms of cleansing, so purification of the soul, so I believe it's all interconnected anyway. So if you look at your life, like right now, my room, it's getting a bit cleaner now because I'm getting a bit cleaner. But I've been living in an incredible mess. Like freshly washed clothes piled up on chairs. Like leaves from the forest lying around. Just a teapot 1 meter after the entrance door to my room. And I only have 20 square meters of room. A whole bag full of tissues that I used for my rapé sessions, because all kinds of stuff comes out of your nose when you do rapé. And so I have also a spitting bowl, which is holding a bit of water and a bit of spit. And that's just standing in here. So just that you understand, this bag of tissues is like pretty full. And that's been standing in here already for several weeks, if not months. Because I was so busy to cleanse, emotionally that I just had no time, no energy, or no power, that's all the same thing to me, to clean my room, because I was literally in a depression, and I've been in that depression for quite a while now, and I'm gradually working myself out of it. And to understand, some people talk about shamans, yeah, and then they go around and they call themselves energy healers or shamans or something. And then you check out their Instagram profile, and then they do all these selfies where they lie around like looking really muscular. And then you think they haven't really done the work. Like, you can tell if a person really suffered or if they're just pretending to be like something they're not. So if you cannot even heal your delusion of materialism, then how do you expect, you can't really call yourself an energy healer. Because to me, this kind of materialism, it's, in a way, it's a sickness. Because, you just cling to the material world and you keep running away from everything you feel inside of you. And so when we talk about cleansing, one way to go about it is to first look at your life in general. I would say that's how I started, already way back, trying to figure out what is the proper diet, what is the proper way to live in general, you can cleanse your thoughts, to have positive thoughts, more positive thoughts, and to keep the negative ones in check. You can overwrite thinking patterns with mantras and stuff and affirmations, or by doing these kinds of mind games. Like, if you have a lot of negative thought patterns, you can take those words, play around with them in your mind, and see what comes out of it. So, yeah, cleansing, it's not really a difficult word, but sometimes we just find some meaning in there, and maybe you find a meaning that I don't find. And that's why, I'm not here to tell you everything there is. I'm just showing you how I'm doing things so that you can do them on your own. So cleansing, clean, lean. Lean is like a bit lighter, right? Lean, less stuff that makes you heavy. So you can be emotionally lean in that sense, so that if there are emotions, you feel them, but they don't cling within you, which means you feel them and you see them and you acknowledge them and you accept them, and then they let go. That's a state when you already did your cleansing and your purification, and when you already know how to move energy inside your body. But at first, I'm probably talking to a person that's quite heavy, right? That maybe lives in a state of somewhat depression, where they can't really hear birds singing anymore, where they feel like, they're missing love or happiness in their lives. Everything is like a drag. Well, it's probably going to get a lot worse. I'm just saying that so that you can mentally prepare yourself for a fight, right? This is what I'm talking about. Takes a lot of courage, because you're going to go somewhere where not many people dare to go, right? So what you really need to do is dive into the shit and look at these emotions. So if you feel like slightly depressed, so instead of to keep running around and keeping yourself busy with all these movies and all these distractions from yourself, I think it's time to just start settling down a little, to think about, okay, maybe cutting down on sugar, cutting down on coffee. That's already major accomplishments if you manage that. It took me years to understand why I was drinking coffee and also how it made me feel. And for that, I had at times weeks where I struggled not to drink coffee, and then I drank it again. And that showed me what actually coffee does to me, because I would have times without coffee, and then I would have times with coffee, and then I could compare these times. So that's like also habitual cleansing, because we also often, right, sometimes people are afraid and then they want to be angry. So they drink coffee because fear can make you run away. You know, at least the coffee makes you a bit angry so you can tackle whatever you need to tackle during the day, what kind of work or family life or something. You know, it just keeps you going. But it also keeps you from stopping. And if you just keep going and going and going, well, you'll have what most people have, and that's then a burnout. Because there's nothing, right? You're just so full with stuff that you're trying to run away from. You're going to run out of energy eventually. And then maybe you have a stroke or a heart attack. It depends. You see, it's a very vast area that you need to talk about. You know, if we talk about cleansing, I cannot just tell you, well, do an anorganic sulfur cleanse. Why? Because once you start cleansing your body, you also have to face all the emotions that you've been piling up in yourself. And that's the real bitch. That's the real bitch. Because once you start tackling these emotions, you know, it's just gonna feel like you're dying. Because in a sense you are. Because all these emotions, you know, they've been rotting in you. It's like decayed energy. That's like really toxic stuff. And as long as it's kind of compressed in yourself, you know, pushed down into some kind of abyss, into some kind of crevice, you know, it's fine, right? It's like one tight ball of really toxic emotions. But these really toxic emotions also shape the way you behave most of the time. It's like ups and downs, you don't know what's going on, drinking coffee, eating sugar, watching too many movies, like binge eating, like having a messy room, being unable to go out into nature every day, although you really want to, right? There might be so many things that you actually want to do, only you can't do them because you feel so heavy and you just feel like you don't want to do anything. I mean, I'm not even going down into this, are there spirits and can they possess you? Well, all I can say is I think there are, but I think the only thing you need to know is how to tackle your emotions and general toxicity. Because whatever spirits are, right, law of attraction, if you have a lot of negativity within you, you also attract negative things. Like I said, smoking tobacco attracts dark spirits. But why do you smoke tobacco? Yeah, because, like I said, sadness is stored in the lungs. You see, your whole system, your whole body, you know, it doesn't end with your fingertips. You know, there's like such depth to who you are that sometimes you do something and you actually feel fine, and then boom, this emotion comes surging out of you, where you just felt like a little child. You know, sometimes I would do rapé, and afterwards, you know, I would do certain things, I would do random things, just everything I felt like to keep going. And then I would lie down in bed, and suddenly there was such chaos within me, generally in the stomach region, where I felt like something was detaching itself from me and being swirled around. It was like complete madness. And, you know, if you're talking about spirits, it could be that it's a spirit that you've been had, you know, inside of you, and that's now coming loose because it has nothing to hold on anymore. Because you've been working on your emotions and you've been working on your habits, and that means there's a lot of homework for you. So to just walk around and do namaste, yeah, and wear white robes doesn't mean you're spiritual. In that sense, I mean, you're still a spirit, but you're also really phony because you're a pretender, and that's just like everybody else. So the real tough job is to face those emotions and to actively start working on the way you feel and to practice giving yourself love. That means taking the time where you just sit around doing nothing and just pay attention to how you feel. And that means you have to really prepare yourself for chaos, because emotions are chaos in that sense. It's like raw, pure energy. And that's why in spirituality we have certain practices or sadhana that help you to work with that. Whatever works for you. If playing music works for you, if doing crochet works for you, if going for walks works for you, if doing breath work works for you. Some people may really like fasting. That's a really tough one for me. I've done fasting. But I've also realized that when I fast, I'm knocked out and I can't do anything. And then I'm just sitting around because it's too much to deal with at once, all these emotions. So generally I stay away from fasting, and I'm just waiting for my time. Maybe there will be a time where I will fast, and I think there will be. But at the moment I had so much stuff to do because I wanted to create all this content so that my YouTube channel is nice and full, that I didn't have time to fast. Because if I sit around and do nothing, nothing's going to happen. So I had to also work. And that basically shows you, I did nothing else. And that's why I'm progressing quite quickly, because my work is basically my sadhana. My work is my spiritual work. But the thing is, you don't have to have a YouTube channel, and you don't have to have a podcast, and you don't have to, paint images or make music to incorporate sadhana into your life. And what it actually means, sadhana, is just mindfulness, to have a method and to use that. So if you have a job that you don't really like, you can start by trying to find a way to do the job in a way that you actually start liking it, right? Because there's always somebody that likes doing that job, and you can try to find a place where you actually like doing it. Anyway, so cleansing probably starts with a decision. Something has to change, and then you're the one that needs to implement that change. And diet is a very big part, because people really need to stop seeing their body just as this kind of thing that gets rid of, takes food and turns it into poop. Because the body is it's an also energetic thing. And that means, it can store vast amounts of energy. And that's why generally people who are quite obese, they're holding on more to stuff, I think, And so, to me, cleansing, also physical cleansing, that means for me ingesting anorganic sulfur, and sometimes also eating bitter things is quite important. Well, for me, cleansing also was what I did my sessions with mushrooms, with rapé. That's like spiritual cleansing, emotional cleansing. In the end, it all boils down to the same thing. It's about cleansing and getting rid of heavy stuff and learning to work with it, that it doesn't push you down anymore. So you become a bit lighter, that you don't have this dark black vortex pulling you down. And of course, the easiest thing to see how you're actually doing in life is also comparing yourself to other people and then wondering, why can't I be full of energy every day? And then the answer is probably because you've been holding back all this time, because you maybe didn't know what to do or how to do it. So yeah, I really felt these last 2 to 3 days, I felt like I've been run over by a truck. And I often have that. I go through a process, I don't clean The only thing I'm concerning myself with is this kind of spiritual work that I have chosen to do. That's like my sadhana, producing content. I just had to find a job that I liked to do, that I wanted to do. And so I found that. And once I had it, I wanted to do nothing else. And so I kept doing that, and I kept doing that, and I kept doing that. And every day I had to push myself through this really big bulk of shit. And for a while, all I was eating was pancakes with sugar and drinking coffee. And then I got rid of the coffee, but I stuck with the sugar. And when I realized, I need something else now to get rid of eating all of that sugar, I started to do an anorganic sulfur cleanse again. Because that also cleanses the body more on a biological level, so that you get rid of all these fungi and bacteria that want all this sugar. Because you might not be in charge of what you're eating. So that's like a cleanse in the form of biology. It's more like a material cleanse. But then, like I said, it's like all attached to each other. Because you make a choice to change your life, other things are going to happen. Suddenly you attract other energies into your life, and that's going to introduce a lot more change. And then you have to deal with that. And then you wake up sometimes and you just feel like shit. But then you learn what kind of methods work for you. Maybe for you it's super easy to wake up every day and do breath work. Well, great, right? Some people do other kinds of things. It's just like creating moments where you sit there with closed eyes and focus on the inside. Sometimes I don't even have the energy to sit, so I just lay down, place my hands, one on my stomach, one on my chest. And generally I put my left on my chest and my right on my stomach, and I hold myself like this. And then the storm passes, and when it's over, I generally feel better. So just now, I came back from the forest, I did rapé there, I came back, and then I had no strength in me. I felt like literally, bam, I've been beaten to a pulp. All this stuff coming out of my nose. And most people, they would say, oh, I'm sick. No, you were sick, now you're cleansing. So when I'm sick, I assist my body to keep cleansing, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to cleanse, and now I'm cleansing. But most people, they don't go out when it's cold or rainy because they're afraid to get sick. But the truth is, the fact that they don't go out when it's cold or raining is, they're already sick. So cold exposure just shows you how sick you already are. That actually going into nature causes you severe pain. And so if you're walking barefoot and that's painful, that means your feet are really in a bad shape. So my body is sometimes hurting all over, like I'm in so much pain, but I also realize it's getting better. And I have days where it's actually okay, and then I have days where it's like, boom. And that probably also depends on just generally what I'm working with. And I also realize that it's improving. I feel that underneath all that pain, I'm getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Because I'm doing a lot of cleansing, I push out weakness out of my system and I replace it with strength. And the strength also comes from, I've been courageous, I've been doing this, I've been suffering through hell, and sometimes I see the light, and then I'm back in hell, and then I keep working with my method. The way Ram Dass says it, I don't even care what I'm heavy about. As soon as the heaviness starts, I start doing, that's not the quote anymore. I start doing whatever I feel like doing. I just start with my method. And whether that's an affirmation, whether that's like counting beats or something, or like I say, breath work or running. Because what most people do when they feel heavy, and that's also what I always did, I just stop. I do nothing anymore for 2 weeks until I find this one moment where I feel strong, and then I go running for 3 days, and then I feel weak again. But now I've learned, when I feel weak, I just have to push through. And that's a real bitch. Don't really want to use that word anymore. So yeah, cleansing is effort, for sure. But it's driving all that sadness out of you. And that means then, why is the body letting go of all that stuff? Because it's letting go. You've been holding on to all these emotions, and now you're suddenly working on letting go of them, and that's how your body gets rid of it. That's how your body cleanses. And you can see that on a biological level, on a spiritual level, energetic level, astral level, galactic level. Because you're not just cleansing for yourself, you're also cleansing for everybody in your surroundings. Because probably some of the things you are working with come from other people. Which is also, for me, why I stopped hugging people. I do shake hands, but afterwards, if I'm in nature, I place my hand on the ground so that I get rid of whatever I picked up there. I don't want to be overly afraid of this, but I do think that, this namaste greeting has a purpose, which is, I want to stay with myself. And I've seen what people do that always go around hugging everyone. They just feel miserable and they get heavier and heavier and heavier, and you can really see it in their aura. So maybe you think you're helping people when you're hugging them. I think you're trying to find stability with them. So it's actually about, that you want help from them. So cleansing is just paying attention to these things and then making choices. And yeah, sure, some people will take it personal if you don't hug them. But the best thing you can do about that is just to be honest and to say, I just want to hold myself. I want to be okay, not hugging anyone, because I don't want to sit around at home hoping that somebody will come and hug me, because in the end I have to hold myself. That's like building your own character to become stronger. And yeah, so it's like cleansing also then, I look at my room, it's quite dirty, and then I work on myself emotionally, but I'm also okay with the state that it was until I wake up one day and I think, now it has to be, now I have to clean this. And then all there is to it is to simply clean it. But then I also go stepwise, right? I first collect all the clothes. I put the clean ones into the closet. The dirty ones go to the laundry. And then I just go bit by bit. I can even sleep in between. It doesn't really matter, right? I can even eat in between. Because right now I'm so screwed, I cannot do it all at once. So I'm doing it stepwise. Stepwise, one step at a time, one day at a time. You wake up and you feel into yourself, what do you need today? Yeah? That's just how it is. And if you have a kind of a regular life, maybe you're not self-employed, so you have to be at places during certain times, well, then you just have to make sure that you find the time to do these things, even if it means that, it's going to happen for you a bit slower. But I also had somewhere to be, So, I'm not in a position where I have a family and all that kind of stuff that I have to maintain. And, I'm on my own at the moment. So that was, sure, you could say, a selfish decision. But I also made sure that I contributed to the community that I found myself in the way that I can contribute. So that I don't have the feeling, money is overly important. Because after all, money is just money. It's made up stuff. It doesn't exist. It's energy. And if somebody has money, then you can use it just for yourself and buy a car. Or you can think of ways also how to give back. It doesn't have to be necessarily monetary. I'm just saying, cleansing comes in all kinds of ways. Also you have to work with stuff like greed and stuff. Yeah, and then just see, okay, yeah, when you come home from a party and you start talking really aggressively, right? You remember, after a while, you start remembering, wait, why am I talking so aggressively? What did I pick up there? And then suddenly you think, okay, you know what? Before I get home from that party, I'm going to go into the forest and walk there barefoot to get rid of all this negativity I just picked up. And that's what I do. I take responsibility for the stuff that I pick up because I realize how energy works, right? And if people are negative and I'm a bit more positive, and I touch them, their negativity will flow over into me. And if I don't get rid of that, I'm going to carry it around and all stuff is going to pile up on that. And now, just thinking about it, right? I mean, your parents probably had their own emotional stuff going on and they probably didn't deal with it unless they were some kind of, I don't know, higher realized yogi being. So as a child, you already started piling up. That's like the karmic, how do you call that? It's like inheritance, right? So it's your job to deal with that. There's no need to be angry at people for that. It's just the way it is, so that the next generation gets rid of the stuff from the previous generation. And that's how you pay back. So yeah, that's all I had to say on cleansing.